Hey, welcome to TC Disc Golf. Today we're going to be talking about Make It March. So before I get too far into this video, I want to talk about how this video isn't just going to be me throwing a bunch of putts. That'd be a really boring video. Trust me, I watched all the footage and I realized how boring it would be to watch me for 6 minutes, even at a really hilarious speed. This video is actually going to be more about what I learned, why I did Make It March, and what are some tips and things that I think would help other people with their putting. So first, let me explain what Make It March is. Make It March is an idea I came up with for my Instagram way back in, I think, late January or early February. It was this idea that I would make a putt that would be the same number in a row as the day. So March 1st, I make 1 putt. March 2nd, I make 2 putts in a row. March 3rd, 3 putts in a row. So on and so forth, all the way through the 31st. Starting from far and working my way closer until I could make it. So most days I would start somewhere close to 30 feet and then I would work my way in after 3 tries at that spot. So I'd make 3 tries from a spot. If I missed all 3 or didn't make the number in a row I needed to make, I would flip my marker disc and essentially move 9 inches forward. And I'd do that until I was at a distance where I made the number of putts I needed to make in a row. Now eventually I do get to a place where I'm pretty close, so I kind of gave myself a soft cutoff of all my putts have to be from 10 feet or further. Though when I'm inside, I'm right at 10 feet when I make those putts. And originally I wanted to do all these putts outside, and it was really important for you to show me making the putts, throwing the putts. But I realized it just wasn't going to be possible, and it was kind of less important to me as I got more tired, as I began doing these later because of different work and volunteer commitments. And so a lot of this ended up happening where there was this ideal and then the reality. And the reality was I ended up doing maybe a third of the days inside because it was cold, because it was dark, because I was tired. And I did my best to make sure that even though I was inside, I did all my putts from 10 feet or 12 feet, though I couldn't really go much further because of my space inside. And that's okay, because the goal shifted from let's make it really far when we putt to let's make it consistent when we putt. And consistency really brings up the next topic, is why do I putt the way that I putt? When I first began with disc golf, advice was given to me that I actually use a stagger putt instead. And I tried doing the stagger putt like everyone else, but I just found problems with consistency and power, consistency and form. And then any time that my disc would land on a hill or behind a tree and I'd have to straddle putt, it would throw me off completely. And so when I began to work on my putting a long time ago, even just the tiny bit that I did, straddle putt became my main form of putting, and I tried to use that for everything, because the idea is no matter where I am, I can straddle putt. I can straddle putt behind a tree, I can straddle putt on a hill, I can straddle putt when I'm out in the open. Generating power from that is a little bit different. Instead of generating power from your back leg primarily, you generate power from both legs, and you're kind of shifting all that power. You're trying to shift it from your back a little bit forward, but you have to keep your balance. It's not hard to keep your balance when you have that straddle, but it is something to be mindful of, because if I push too much forward, you end up on your toes and it ends up being more like a jump putt. The second thing is, when I first did this video, I was actually filming for my Yaikun Gi review, which you can watch in a couple weeks. And the bottom of that disc has a textured plate. That textured plate allowed me to grab the disc and give it some extra spin. Now Wild Disc, who I'm sponsored by, also a link below in the description, you can actually see that those discs are very similar, the Gi and the Sea Otter, which makes sense because it's the same manufacturer, even if it is different companies. I figured even without the textured plate, I could still grip the plate of the Sea Otter and spin it like I was spinning the Gi. And then I could still get the same power and distance out of the disc that has a putting aid. And that was a really helpful first step for me in Make It March. One of the first things I learned, because I used to grab the rim of the disc and try to spin the rim from there, but I get a lot of left and right errors. But by grabbing the plate of the disc, I not only got a smaller window of misses, I actually started getting more spin out of the disc, and I could spin it and get the disc itself to go further, which was super helpful. The second thing, my form, getting those repetition. And I realized when I first started, I would keep my feet out and I would hold the disc up for a long time. Now, pointing both feet at the target, so it's easier on my knees, easier to bend, and then I get a better putt. And this is something that I actually noticed. My legs started to feel better. After the first week or so, I was hurting in my core. Part of it was I was starting so far back, so there were days that I was making almost 300 putts. One day I made 294 putts. And those repetitions were important, but my arm and my core felt it as a workout. So I would suggest to someone who's learning how to putt, learn how to pinch the plate and spin from the plate instead of spinning from the rim. It's not like holding a throwing disc, it actually is a different grip. Second thing I would recommend is everything should go towards the basket. When you're pushing with your legs, whether you're doing a staggered stance or a straddle putt, push towards the basket. The other thing that I would recommend is that when you take and you're doing your putting, focus on repetition. Don't focus on distance. I got better at putting, and it actually helped me win my first tournament ever. So, not the first one I played, but the first time that I've won. And I attribute a lot of that to the ability, like, I can now putt. I'm not nervous when I step up in a tournament that my disc is going to go right or left. I'm either going to go high or low, which is unusual for a spin putt. And part of that is because my consistency of I'm straight on to the basket. I'm pretty sure I'm going to make it March again next year, except for I think I'm going to make it May, just for the weather.